So yeah, for those of you who are new here, what the session is all about. So every single month when we have a challenge, me and Federico essentially we host two different sessions. The first session is a workshop session where we go through the data set. We talk about what we think could be done with the data, maybe how to manipulate or to achieve something, what type of visuals to use, or some other tips and tricks that we come up with whilst preparing for the session, right? So that's one part of it. Then, of course, we also answer your questions. So, if you do have any questions and if you have already started to work with a data set and just find something kind of peculiar and you want to understand how to tackle this, feel free to ask these questions. If you see something and just want to clarify, also just ask. Don't worry about it. If you don't feel comfortable asking questions publicly, no worries about it. You can also send a direct message to us in webinars at zoomcharts.com. That's one of the options. Or you can also post a comment or just a thread, basically, an FB at 20 Analytics. Also ask questions because don't forget, this is a community event, right? You're not alone in this. There's a lot of people trying out and participating in the challenges. You're not alone who's probably struggling with the same thing. It's the one weird thing that I think you can, Federico, comment on this as well, that a
Yeah,
lot of developers think that they're kind of alone struggling with one thing. In reality, almost every single one of us are struggling with the same thing, right?
yeah. The only thing is that we don't say it loud.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that at work, I'm most probably asking for help than anyone else, and it don't matter how senior you can be or how junior you can be. I am sure that one of your colleagues might have encountered the problem you are facing, okay, and they might be able to give you an opening on that little problem you're having. But hey, if you don't say anything, nobody's gonna help. So everybody struggle. Be open and keen to actually ask for help.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. I mean, it's one thing that I usually remind and repeat, right? The worst thing that can happen is if you ask somebody a question, is, well, they're not going to reply to you. So you're exactly where you were before. You're not losing anything from it. But on a better chance, they at least give you some ideas and, okay, I could go ahead and do this, right?
I got a trick, Ivy, for the people that don't reply.
Yeah.
I normally say, you don't know neither. Thank you, no worries. And then come back and reply because you challenge them. Okay, so remember that you challenge them. And before you follow, Avis, I want to say
Yeah.
hello to participant.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sajad and Madi. I'm so glad to see you here today. And I know the struggle you have and the difficulties, and to see you popping up today in the webinar is touching my heart. Welcome. That's it. He knows what we are talking about.
But yeah, guys. So don't be too afraid to even try out and participate in these challenges, right? Because at the end of the day, this is the environment that Federico is trying to create. It's a place where you guys can try out, right? There's no judgment. This is just a place where you can learn new skills, try out new different approaches when it comes to DAX, data modeling, data visualization. You can try all of those things, right? And just see what works. When you're working on data and building reports on your work basically every single day, you're going to notice that most of them are going to be following a pattern. These sort of challenges allow you to get outside of your comfort zone and work with completely different data sets where completely different visuals might be utilized and these sort of things, right? So don't worry. If your first report doesn't look amazing, welcome to the club. None of us had an amazing report when we first started off.
Again, it doesn't matter. Guys, you are trying, and you might have more or less experience. You shouldn't think what other people is thinking about it because they were in the same position than you. So you should not worry about what people will think about it. It might report better than this one or the other one. It doesn't matter. You're following your own path.
Exactly.
It, that what other people say stop you, uh, that's the main trouble. It's not your skills. It's that you don't want to let them go open. And I can tell you that firsthand because I experienced the same doubt, the same issue. Do I, is my report going up? Until one day I say, I don't care. I had just to put it out there. And from that, 65 challenges. I don't think I am the person with more challenges on my back anymore. I think my friend from Nigeria actually beating the crap out of me by now. We got Boy Jesse. We got our previous. Okay. To probably they have more than me by now. But hey, don't be afraid. With practice, that everything get together and you start finding the rhythm.
Absolutely. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the new data set, the new challenge data set. And one other thing that I want to quickly remind you guys, it's probably going to be later on popping up as a QR code. Don't forget, right, that there's an unwritten rule that me and Federico and Alex also agreed on, is that if you submit the feedback form, there is a 10% chance increase of you winning the challenge, right? Definitely.
And another 5% if you stay to the end of the webinar. Guys, you need to stay to the end of the webinar. There are free food and drinks. Okay, only if you stay to the end of the webinar.
Absolutely. And also, if you participate in the feedback, you also participate in the giveaway of the ebook, right? We cannot forget about that. So we have a pact also who sponsors these books, so you have an opportunity to also get a free book, right? Learning Power BI skills is never easy, so books help you with that process as well. All right. I think we're
I
done with
think,
that. Yeah. Anything
yes.
else?
Yeah, no. Igbo. It's my ambassador, but yes, see, I'm sending you a text in Teams after the webinar. Make sure you read it, please. Thank you. That's it. And you want me to go ahead or?
I think yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, guys, let me. I hate doing this because I'm terrible at sharing. Can I share?
Go for it.
I think it's this one. But I'm taking things out. Can you see anything now?
Not yet. There we go.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm really good at this now. Okay, that's the data set. If you have checked the data set, you can see that it's not about sales. There is no call, there is no prices. It's just a bunch of IT system support requests in different matters. Okay, so this is the kind of analysis where you focus on, okay, I got this total, but what variety? Okay, and how this perform over time. That's the only thing you can do. Okay, as you can see, there is no much number. You have latitude and longitude, that's for a map. You have a day column for time and a resolution day. Also, you can do some check on how long it takes some and request to be fixed, and is there any patterns? And then you have the ticket ID, how many tickets. Okay, so remember, this is about exploring these tickets and where they belong to, what category, how long they take to be sorted out, and for what country, okay, you have more tickets than the other. Okay, and today, sorry, I got a little bit of a holiday throw, whatever. Can you see this?
Yep.
I look into this side because I got my screen. Now I'm gonna put you in this side, and I'm gonna put the screen in the middle so I can work properly. Okay. I look into the front by not looking at you. You are on this side. Okay, remember, because I get lost. Okay, we are gonna talk about what I do with my tables and matrices. How do I make sure they look better, cleaner? Okay, and a couple of little tricks, okay, that I use, okay, for them. So I have prepared this. This is how normally table show up when you click on the table visuals. And that's how it does in the matrix. I actually change this to be on the columns, but if not, it will be under January and all the categories. So I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna bring this one with me. I'm gonna copy, bring it here. I'm gonna put it in the middle so you see. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you see everything. The first thing I do, guys, is a style preset. And I say, no, I don't want anything. I want to start from zero. I go to grid and I say, bye. I go to borders and I say, okay, total, go border, bye-bye. Column header have borders, bye-bye. That is my beginning. Okay, I know the space I have, and I go here and say, okay, that is the month, and I correct the name. And I'm gonna give you a nice header, month. And total request, I'm gonna get that total. I'm gonna say number request, whatever. Give me a proper, okay? Now I'm ready to work with it. Okay, so that is too, my font is too small. So I go to column header and say, okay, I'm gonna put you at 15. And I give you a black color for the time being. And I'm going to do the same with the values. We have 14. Okay, now I start seeing everything better. Now in grid, you have options. And what I like to do here to give some breathing space between those rows. So I say 1, 2, 3. If I got more space, I can give a little bit more. Okay? You just remember to put this in the number of the row padding and make sure you say it's consistent with your report. Okay? At the moment, now it's looking a little bit better. It's cleaner. Okay? Another thing that I like to do is going to auto, and I'm gonna say auto side with, I say, no, I don't want you to every time a filter, every time I click in that, things actually move around here. I don't want you to do that. So please, and I say off. Now my columns will always stay the same size. So that doesn't matter now. It will always be in the same position. It will not move, no matter how big or not the column is. Okay, so remember, remove the auto, how do you call that? Auto width, no? Auto size. Okay, so now in a good position now. Now I want to have that little separator line. So I'm coming back, I remove this, and I go again to my column header, top. It's not top, it's bottom. And remember, give me a color. Yes, I'm gonna tell you a little trick. If you give me that color, too blue, you here, if you see the line is too big for you, you actually here, you can place 0.5, and it used to take it, not anymore. Why? One, I think in the road, okay, you have your line there. Do you want a line in the total? I think for me, it's clear enough. I don't need anything else. Okay, so think about that, your table. You want to give it maybe a different color in the values. Let me go to the values. The alternated color is here. You want to give it a little different one. If you decide to do that, please make sure you go to a super light. Try to play with a color that is almost no visible. I think that's it. Okay, that will do. Don't make it too strong. It's actually you go white, strong color, white, strong color, something light, from white to something very light. Even if you want to use a different color, it has to be lighter than that. That is too on my face. Something like that. Okay, so that is for the table. Another thing you can do, you say, no, I don't want that. Okay, but what I'm gonna do is to bring in the headers, I'm gonna say this one, and that will be then white. Perhaps a little bit darker this time. And another thing I do before everything is my padding, 10, 10, and 10. And you see now that is because you have no space here. You open a little bit, and there you go. That is your little, very good looking table. Okay, and this is it's about cleaning it up, not adding a lot of stuff. It's the cleaner for me, the better. Yes, you can add some formatting, okay, to it. Color formatting, there are different variants, and you have positives and negatives. Another thing that I realized that the header, they are not aligned. So we go here, and I think is a specific column, apply to header, and I want that in the center. Okay, and I go to man, but I'm gonna tell you something better about this. It is important. Always the left column should be on the left. If we are seeing a lot of numbers and variation, follow this rule. Text on the left, numbers on the right, and if you are comparing, if you are showing the variation between two numbers, that variation you put it on the center. Basically, it's telling me, hey, I'm related to these two. So you have this year sale, and in the other column you have last year sales, okay, both on the right, okay, here, okay. Then you have the difference, okay, that will be in the middle. That variance or difference in the middle is telling everybody, okay, I am part of these two on my left. Okay, but if there is no reference, just keep text on the left, number on the right. Okay, now that is my first one. Okay, so now we go for a matrix. Let's use this one. That is not the matrix. Let me make this a little bigger, because you see, okay, remember the first thing, the layout. I want none. I want a clean. Okay, grid. I don't think I have any grid. I know it's gonna have some borders because I can see that there and that there. So I'm gonna look for that in a minute. And you have different of presentation options. At the moment, we leave it like that. Where is the border here? Column header. Remember, I don't want at the moment. Row header, I don't want at the moment. Okay, I'm moving everything from it. I want to start from 0. I'm gonna count down my options. I'm gonna say padding 8. Okay, and you will see now. Okay, what happened there? You want to see my face? And the values, don't worry about that. It's normal. It's because you have no space, because the number has grown. Let's put in 13 for the time being. Column headers, 14, and the row headers, the same. We open up, we make sure everything is as we like, and we go for the auto. And do I say bye-bye? I don't want you to open or close. I want you to stay there all the time. Okay? You might need to play a little bit during your development because there's a number that bigger than the others and you might have to adapt. But this allows for the matrix not to be smaller or bigger or not to leave the confinement of this. Okay? Do I want my total there? That's a question for you. I don't. My padding, remember? 10 for me. It can be 10, it can be 15, it can be 10 on the left, 5 on the right because you need space or room. And now what I'm gonna do is also, I don't normally do this much. I prefer a very clean table or matrix. I'm gonna give you a little bit of that one. It's okay. A little bit darker this time. And now we have this little problem there. That is because let me see what of this it is. They are the one. If you have the problem, you put the same color. That is not the color, it has to be the one. When you find the same color, it should not be a problem. You see you have a little problem here. You have to actually, you can do this in a different way, but I found easier. I don't like that header with that. So I'm gonna go for my column. So I'm gonna go for my white and this black. And I'm gonna give you a little bit more grid. Okay, you got now more separation and a little border. If I can't find this anymore, column, button, and let's give it a color. Okay, that will do for me. There is a couple of things, guys, you can do more. Remember, clean it, have it ready for you. Okay, make sure you disable the auto size width when you have everything in your right size. And then there are a couple of things you can do more, yes? Sometimes people say, Federico, I would like to have a separation between from me starting from you. And how do you do a separation there? How do I put something there that allow me to create a separation? Okay, or can I have 3 lines separating per quarter? You create a measure called blank, just a blank, and you throw it. It's not gonna work in this one. Okay, now you have a separator. Can you see the separator is too big? Not gonna work here because, give me a second, let me bring the right one for this. I do that in 2 minutes, don't worry. I very quick at this. Okay, let's leave it like that for the purpose of this. So you can get this separator and put in between, and it's there. So now I will do white, a little dot, and then if you go down here, a specific column, and look for this, you can add background color to that, and you can say, okay, let's give it 3 colors based on total request. Okay, you have a little separation. I want you to think about the idea. Now you can have a different measure that say if it's bigger than 1500, red. If lesser than 1500, pink. Okay, and you can give it different color, okay, to the a separation. Okay. Another thing you can do is to make, I got this total request, and you have a total request. I got a copy of this measure, and I call it bars. Why? Because I'm gonna throw this here, and it's gonna give me the same number. But I'm gonna go now, I'm gonna say I want data bars, but I only want the bars. I don't want the numbers because I got the number already on the left column to it. Okay, we see positive, that igual, that's it. Yes, negative for the, and the aces, I normally leave a very, very gray, very light gray or white. I don't want that to be much. And now you look like, it look like you have now the number of some bars. Okay, so remember that's another nice way to actually increase or make your table of matrices better. And color header. And now the only thing I need to do is to go to the borders. Column header is okay. Put that color in there. And for the totals, I don't want nothing there. Okay, and a little bit with more playing around, you can do a lot better. You know what happened there? Because it's not auto. Now it will not move anymore. Total request. Okay, perfect. That's the only thing I have to do. To make sure everything's in the center. weekday, and now we have a better looking, okay, little table built in a couple of minutes. My perhaps most important point for today, and I'm finishing, will be I hate when this does not copy. My two most important points of the day is automatically style, no. Second, when everything is in the right place, in the right size and everything, auto. The third will be that nobody use that. The padding between rows, okay, give you some breathing space, and then you can start removing everything. And you see that this is very long, okay, but because you have some space between the rows, it can be read, excuse me, better, and you can present a better quality table. You will bring that here, you will bring that here, and do the last. Okay, and you have a better looking table. So that is my tip for you today. Remember to keep it clean and simple, and remember a couple of tricks. Avis, that is for me today. I think I talked too much anyway.
Eh?
The I think it was okay.
Yeah. All right. I'll share my screen then and talk about a few more things.
Any question, guys, to the last of the webinar? I will happily reply.
There is one, Federico. How was the conditional formatting applied to the blank columns?
In the same way you apply any conditioning formatting to numbers. Another one is that one. I'm going to show you in a second. In this case, I have by gradient. Oh, you cannot see the gradient window here. Why
Yeah,
not?
because it's a separate window, Power BI decided then. So you would have to share this
Two
whole
meters.
screen.
Okay, can I do that, Amy?
Should be able to, yeah.
What do I do? Window
So
or the
instead of
entire
window, choose
screen?
yeah,
I got it,
entire
I got
screen.
it, I got it. Man, I'm becoming a master of this. I'm not kidding.
Practice makes
Okay,
perfect, right?
yeah, as an example, you have here is a gradient. You can do it the same way by rules if you want to. And I have a measure prepared for that. That is called, it should allow me to, where is my measure? That one. Okay? Yeah? Remember, conditional formatting like any other, okay, conditional formatting you normally do. By measure, by gradient, or by rules. Okay, Avis, that's it.
All right. Putting my screen there. Should go live in a second. Do, do, do. Let's see. Should be shared now.
I got my friend Rafa and online. Hi, Rafael. I don't know you know Rafael, but he is actually a magician with Power Query and the M language. I attended one of his courses and it was just a eye opener. to how much you can do and how much we need to learn.
It's one of those things that I think just surprises me that even despite of how much time I've already spent building reports within Power BI, there's always somebody who figures out something that just breaks my mind in a sense.
Yeah.
Just looking at it afterwards, like, but but how? Okay,
Why?
yeah, go ahead if you wanted to say
No, no,
something.
no. Why did you do that to me?
Yeah,
When I say
basically,
when I
right?
find something complicated that I can understand why you make it so complex.
It's one thing. The other thing is like I was feeling so good about myself, and now you just broke me.
Oh, that is daily. That is daily for me.
I like the funny thing that I was noticing as well, right? Whilst you were showcasing your report as well, the one you were using as a sample, how inadvertently we somehow both managed to decide that today is going to be the blue theme.
Blue thing. Yeah. No, I actually have this. I dreamed last night. I said I think Abe is gonna use the blue one, and I actually changed it midway when I was preparing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
because my original theme as well. Look, the primary color is yellow.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So we did the same.
hey man, we've been just doing this for too long now. We just know what each other is going to do.
We're gonna yeah.
But yeah, a few other things that I wanted to kind of point out, guys, and this is based on what we saw in the previous challenges, some of the mistakes, or not even mistakes, but I'd say just some things that you overlooked, and it was something that was easily fixed, right? So one of them was something Federico already kind of touched upon was the table formatting, and what I specifically wanted to showcase regarding the table formatting is if you ever decide that you don't need the totals, right? You can hack around it and actually make it invisible, right? In some cases, you can disable it. In some cases, you can't. So, for example, you can see that what I did in this table is basically gave my ticket ID, the subject, the body, the answer, and of course, what Power BI does automatically, it creates a total column. I could completely disable it, but let's say I want to keep it there, right? I just want to disable it, for example, for some of them. So, what you basically do is go through the formatting options, find specific column, find a column that you want to tackle. In this case, you see I've already done this to the body section. So now I'm going to do the same thing for the answer because I don't want one answer to be sort of like the superior answer, right? Or whatever. So what I'm going to do is just switch the applied settings to the answer column. Make sure you switch to the total column and then just change the color.
Yeah.
It's quite simple, right? Sure, it's a little bit more tricky if you decide that your table is going to be transparent and then you have some sort of gradient in the background. This is one of the reasons why, in a lot of reports, the visuals usually have one main color as a background. You could have the background itself in a gradient, but the chart should have a container color, right? Because this is what allows you to kind of overcome those limitations. So, this is a very simple fix that sometimes might also allow you to just hide some of the numbers that you don't want to show there. It's especially useful as well if you're going for something like a selected value where you want to highlight one, but on a total level, there's always going to be multiple rows that are taken into account.
That is a good example for that column that I added with the bars. I
Yeah,
already
yeah,
have
yeah,
the
yeah.
total. I already have the total, so I normally just put that in white so nobody see that it's there
Yeah.
and sort it.
So, one very simple thing. The other thing that I was noticing a lot actually, and I think we actually covered this also in the top five, or at least mentioned this, is whenever you create your bookmarks, please, for the love of God, play around with them, right? We get that you tried once or twice and it seems everything is working correctly, but just play around with them. Because one of the things that I noticed last time was the following. Whenever you were playing around with the visuals, at some point of time, you created a bookmark, probably, right? You didn't have any specific filters applied, so you felt safe that, nothing's going to go wrong in a sense, right? You're always going to go back to the default state. But one thing you have to always remember is that what happens with the data, it also takes the sort state, and this is one common mistake that I don't know for whatever reason was happening a lot last month. Data takes also the sort state. So what happens if, for example, I click reset, it's gonna clear the data, but suddenly all the visuals are sorted randomly. In some cases, it's going to be alphabetical. In some cases, it's going to be based on value. So, and one thing you have to remember, right? When you switch the sort states, okay, I made a mistake there. I'm going to fix it. So I'm just going to adjust all the sorting mechanisms based on the values, update the bookmark.
I think my advice for that is that not only if you have one bookmark in one page, it's about, think about
Yeah.
you have two or three in one page. It's to prepare the bookmark all at the end when everything is almost ready in the right position that I want to.
Yeah.
Okay, I start creating the bookmark, making sure that when I come back to it, everything remains as it is. And as you said, you have the right click with the data, the display, and the current page. That sometimes, okay, you need to have a good understanding of how it really works because it's a little bit of a problem, a pain in the ass sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially if you decide to be very sneaky about it and for example disable the current page, but you're actually taking the same bookmark in multiple pages, right? In some cases you might notice that things change, in some cases you don't notice. So one recommendation is just play around with the bookmarks, check them. Don't worry if you think that okay, now it's all good, filter something out. Make the charts actually move around and then reset just to make sure everything good. S- Yeah, see again. Okay, didn't update, have to start all over again. But you have to take these little tests because for you it might not seem like a big issue, right? Remember, but when you're giving these reports to somebody else, they're just judging it based on what they're seeing. And that's that the first impression moment where it's going to be feeling for the user like, I think I just broke the goddamn thing. So try to avoid these sort of situations. It's very simple.
I, I
Yeah.
hate it when I have to work on a report that somebody has created and they have bookmark because I didn't create a bookmark. I don't understand what they are supposed to do. Oh, it's my struggle. It's my struggle sometimes. Feeling like I'm gonna get the phone and I'm gonna kill this guy over the phone. Okay, but hey, that's the day today.
It is what it is, right? This is why actually lately what we're doing as well is we're trying to sort of eliminate bookmarks as much as possible. The only bookmark that's still staying as a king is a reset bookmark that just allows you to clear everything, right? The rest of them you try to go around in different variations using field parameters, using navigation panels, and so forth. So just trying different approaches here, right? Because the main thing about the report is you have to understand that not everybody knows your intent behind it.
Yeah,
You know it because you built it. This is what Federico just mentioned as well with the bookmarks, right? I know what they're doing, those bookmarks, because I created them. But if I'm a new user and just playing around with the report and suddenly something changes, I'm just sitting there like, well, that's not supposed to happen, I think.
I'm not kidding, but I have a rule between my team. Okay, it's not my team. I work with them. It please do not mention bookmark to the client until we really, really, really need it.
Mhm.
Because you show it to the client, he will know 20 of those. And
Yeah,
then you get really, really in trouble. So if you can use field parameter or any other way to display the data, do it that way. Try to avoid bookmark. And if you don't have any other option, okay, remember the tip by AB and leave it to the end. And the less, the better.
yeah,
The best bookmark is the one that doesn't exist. No bookmark at all. Believe me. But sometimes we have to use it.
yeah. Because trust me, we can tell you it's a real headache when there's like 20 or 30 of them and you have to update all of them because sometimes you don't even understand what they're doing.
That is also very important. Guys, remember naming the bookmark. The same bookmark, you call this bookmark reset, and then in the other page you have another bookmark called reset. You're
Yeah,
going to get confused which is which. So that will be reset for the second page. And
yeah,
the next one will be reset for the third page. And if you can group your bookmark by page and then by subgroup, the better. So you know uh, this belong to this page, this belong to this page, and this belong to this page.
yeah, like this. So as much as you can do to make it easier for yourself, do it, right? Because one thing that that I always also say to my students is, for example, right, think about it like this. Right now you're working on the report, so you know why this is there, what this is doing, and so forth. Imagine opening up the same report a month after you haven't touched it. If you don't have any groupings, if you don't have proper names, if everything's just bookmark 1, 2, 3, 4, what does that bookmark mean? I don't know.
No, no, no.
uh,
Hey, I encounter this problem almost every day in my work. It really, really upset me because I don't know.
Yeah,
Simply, I don't
absolutely.
know your idea, as you mentioned.
Same thing goes for other elements as well, right? For example, if you have something like a field parameter, make sure that the default state that you select, you also save in the bookmark. And this is what I've done purposely here. What happens in field parameters by default, it basically selects everything. So from Power BI standpoint, it selects the first option. So if my default selection is the first one, and if I have a reset that doesn't take that into account, if I reset it, you can see it actually allows me to select everything. And
I
if I
got
go
that.
into the formatting options, it suddenly even lost the option of only single select. So this is the reason why you have to play around with these things. Make sure that everything works as expected. It's as intended, basically, right? Because these very small little details, they do matter. So once I'm done with this, the basic approach I've taken here is very simple. I've created a field parameter, and what Federico already mentioned regarding the data set itself, you're gonna notice that there's not a lot of numerical data, right? Even though this is a number, this is a ticket ID, so that's just an identifier. It's not a value that you can use. You have dates, so it means you can do something with the time period in between those dates, right? Just understand the concept of what they mean. Then you have a lot of textual information. Some of them can be quantified. And this is what I'm doing here. I went with a sort of a initial page, an overview page, where I just want to focus on three main metrics. I want to understand how many tickets we have overall, just want to understand the trends, if there's any patterns in seasonality, times of day, whatever it is, right? The country, I kind of just grabbed it in, I'll be honest. The second metric that is very important is usually average tickets per day to understand the actual workload of the agents and different departments and everything. And then the time for resolution, right? If you see that at any point of time you skyrocket the time of resolution, you want to understand, okay, what happened there, right? Was it just an overflow of tickets? Maybe there were, complete system errors. So we had just a massive queue of tickets. So that's why it increased and so forth. So you want to understand the main principles of how tickets are starting and moving through the pipeline.
And you can condition a format that you say, okay, my target to resolution is 3 days
Of
top.
course. Yeah,
Anything over, make that card red. Okay, so that card will show you in red, and you say, I have a problem. Let's go back and see what happened.
absolutely. And the one thing though that you have to remember is that if I'm a new user and if you have applied some sort of a condition, let me know it somehow, whether it's through the info window, whether it's a small little tooltip right here that allows me to hover and tells me, hey, the threshold that we have set on a monthly level basis is 3 days, right? Let me understand why this is turning red or green, because otherwise, okay, it's good, it's bad, but I don't know why. So these sort of things, right? So the rest of the approach is very simple. I created a timeline. For the timeline, I just adjusted the initial display unit, because I'll be honest, right? If you have like 1.5 years worth of data, I think we all gonna agree that, especially if you have something like a line, mwah, super amazing chart, right? Very, very detailed. So you want to go to a granularity that actually allows you to see some sort of patterns. So monthly granularity for this one. We do actually also have days, but I mean, let's be fair, right? If there's going to be like 1.5 years worth of data, so if I go
That
to
is a
all
lot of
data
days.
and go down to daily level, this is too much. So find something in between. You do also have weeks, of course, that you can play around with. So that's another option. I'm just using a built in hierarchy, and built in hierarchy doesn't have weeks. There are reasons for that as well. Because weeks are very tricky. They can go into one month, the other month, they can split
Yeah.
down. So,
And yes, guys, don't do this kind of share. It's like there is an earthquake or you're having a heart attack.
yeah,
Okay, that what you see in the hospital or in television when they say earthquake in Japan or whatever. It's pointless. I can't see nothing there.
yeah. Just allow them to understand high level information, and they would see, okay, we had a really kind of compares relative dip here. Click on that, and then you explore it based on a daily level, right? Allow them to kind of play around with the data. One other thing I've done with the axis on this chart, you can see it here, is instead of using a zero line, I'm actually using a floating zero axis. What this means is under primary value axis or secondary, depends on which one you assign here, you have this zero line. By default, this is going to be sitting on visible. Visible means that the chart is always going to force you to see the zero. go up to your value, and then you can kind of see the changes. An alternative is switching to floating. Floating means that you're dynamically taking the min and max values from the whole data set, and the chart says, hey, I know that I'm not going to go above 750, and in this case, I'm not going to go below 600, right? So I'm kind of going relatively. The difference between these two approaches is because this is, in a way, also can be considered misleading because it's not an absolute number, right? You're looking at relative changes, right? What I mean by this, well, if you're looking right here, 735 versus 642, it's not like it decreased twice as much, right? It's just the relative scale of those values. But in this case, it at least allows me to understand if there are any actually impactful ups and downs. Because if you're looking at this, for example, it's one of the lines. I think it was resolution time,
I like
where,
that floating option. Maybe I think it's
yeah,
quite interesting.
yeah,
I
this
think.
one, right? If we're keeping on zero and all the changes are very narrow, super interesting chart to look at. It's not even that it's, okay, it is mathematically correct, right? Everything's shown correctly, but for the end user, he doesn't see any changes. Whereas this one
Anything.
tells him, okay, it's not a massive change, but there are some increases and dips, right? And they're noticeable. So play around with these sort of approaches as well, because at the end of the day, it's your job to present the data that tells a story, not just flat out data, right? So play around with the options. You have the academy that allows you to learn about these settings. You have documentation. Worst case scenario, just reach out to us, guys, right? There's a reason why we give you that email, webinars at zoomcharts.com, so you can ask those questions and we can give you the answers, right? So don't be afraid to ask questions. So that's one of the things. Overall, what I tried to kind of, but I didn't finish yet, is the approach that I was making is I wanted to create a page where I see the overall stats. I can switch between the ticket count, the average time tickets per day. You can see, for example, in this case, these two charts don't change too much, but that's understandable because the total amount of tickets didn't really change much, right? So, but as soon as I switch to, for example, something like resolution time, that switches completely. So it just depends on the data that you're looking at, right? But this allows me to kind of play around with those. And the main idea that I wanted to achieve here is through these charts, I wanted to be able to kind of select the main view that I want to focus on, for example, and then allow the user to, for example, go for this page. And I'm going to quickly add country because that's one of the properties there as well. And I'm going to be using a drill through. Remember, there are different formatting options, different capabilities that Microsoft offers. So here I can say that I want to focus on Sweden, this particular time period, only on tickets that were considered incidents, drill through to the ticket analysis. Here I have a separate timeline that tells me, okay, when these tickets were registered. Then I can, of course, on the table add those additional properties and analyze ticket on ticket basis. Right? Because one of the things that reports also have to provide, I think at some point you want it or not, you can escape from tables. Not yet. They're very they're very loved by the audience, right?
Mhm.
And then the other thing is tables are really, in my opinion as well, the really only way in how you can go into row level data of individual ticket analysis or something like that. Sure, you
I
don't have
agree.
to use these massive text blocks. Sure.
No, I can. But I like tables, and at the same time I say that, I can say I'm not gonna build a report with all tables.
Yeah,
Okay, there is the place and the right time to use these, and okay, and they are an essential part of any report.
absolutely. But yeah,
So,
for this one, I'd say timelines, donut charts, combo or combo bars, depending on which orientation you want, and the map visual are probably going to be the most sufficient. A scatter plot could also be used. I know Federico is not a fan of those, but if you create different values, so like we said, right, there's not a lot of numerical data, so the numerical data you have to create, you have to calculate something. So comparing those could also be very interesting, and scatter plot allows you to do that. Uh, Other than that, I think the main thing is just pay attention to details. There's very small little things that are usually missed because you try to rush things.
and remember, guys, whatever we do, the user expect something from that report. Okay, that's what we call the user experience. They have a mental idea, okay, of what they want or what they are expecting from, and that's what you have to deliver.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's not about everything fancy that you see on LinkedIn or you see here with us. It's about understanding your client. And it's difficult to understand every single member of a company, but you have to pick up an overall liking and deliver that user experience. And sometimes that experience is uncomplicated, it's simpler than you think it is. So open when starting a report, go simple and see how it develops. It might need to become more complex, and that is fantastic. But keep it simple. Keep it simple is not easy. Keep it simple is making the complex to be easily understood. Okay? And
Yep.
that I think is the trouble. At the end of the day, is for your client. Well,
All right.
4 o'clock, man. They go 2 o'clock. Any question? Do you have more to say, Avis?
No, for me that's it. And just the questions and a quick reminder that right above our heads you can see the feedback form QR code. So overall, if you finished or you stayed till the end and plus you finish that, there's about 15% chance increase in winning.
Yeah. Do we have Alex? Do we have any question? I read
I think
one.
we had one regarding the where was it?
Yeah, it's
The clear all
my
slicers button.
yeah. You can apply it. You, I mean, the difference that doesn't clean. It only clean the slicer. It doesn't clean. You filter any visual.
Yeah,
Probably that is the main difference. So any filter you are placed on the slicer will be clean. But if you also click on the donut chart or the column chart, it will not be clean. So it will not reset those. I think that's the main difference.
absolutely. That is the only difference. So clear all slicers has been created in a way that it only takes into account slicer visuals. If any filters are coming from anything else besides the slicers, this doesn't do anything. If I would have slicers, so for example, if I remove these filters, right, and I just have, what was it? It doesn't matter. Let's say Q is going to be one of the slicers, and then one next to it is going to be country. It doesn't matter which ones, right?
Yeah,
If I apply filters through here, it clears. But if I apply filters plus I select something here, these are cleared, the visuals is kept
that's it.
intact. So the reset allows you to just clear everything, start fresh. That is the main idea there. Clear Slicer is an amazing tool if you're, for example, creating these sort of like pop up menus with the filters, because then it allows you to understand that it's clearing that section of the report, for example. Whereas a reset bookmark is more understandable. It's basically like, think about it like you're using a web page, right? It's just like clicking home or clicking on the same page again just to start all over again.
Yeah. Any else?
Anything else, Alex?
Well, for Guy, thank you very much for another wonderful webinar. And thank you to Avis for doing some fantastic job he normally do. And we see you in the top five, no, Avis?
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing you guys in the top five. Don't forget to register for it. Don't miss it. And one last thing that I can actually recommend you guys to do is, for those of you who didn't watch the previous month's challenge workshop, I highly recommend you to go ahead and watch the recording of the previous month's workshop. The main reason for that is, let's see where it was, this one. We'll send you the link afterwards, but you can find it right here, resources, webinars. Scroll down, here's the archive, second page, this one right here about the banking. The reason for it, Federico was having an amazing hands-on workshop basically on how to create layouts and design options within Figma. So take a look at that. You don't have to, of course, start to doing it straight away. There's no rush with it, but it might give you some ideas on how to tackle these sort of sessions or reports. Other than that, I thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you, Federico, for being as awesome as you are. And
Thank you.
have an amazing day, everyone.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye.